I'm very pleased to be able to speak with Mr. Ronald Arculli, the chairman of Hong Kong Exchange. He's here with us as part of a process of being recognized as being the best exchange in the Asia-Pacific region. Thank you very much for spending time with us, Ron.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Hong Kong Exchange, is it a victim or a potential victim of its own success, given how successful it's grown in the last 20 years and how successful it's been growing in the last few years after the crisis? Are there things that it's not able to do because it's riding on a momentum of being a very equities-driven marketplace?
I think we're also quite derivative-driven as well, and I think from what you say, it simply demonstrates that if we increase our product platform, that there's still a very bright future ahead for the exchange. So that's definitely going to be part of our strategy over the next few years, and product increase and product enhancement, and coupled with the internationalization of the renminbi, we hopefully will be offering renminbi product, and that again will give us, as it were, a bigger range in our portfolio.
In terms of productization, how successful have you been? What kind of products have worked and what hasn't? And what have you learned in the process?
I think we've had a little trouble with commodity type product, simply because I think if you are basically dealing with futures as opposed to physical, there seems to be other markets that are far stronger, and it's just that we've had in Hong Kong, cotton, physical cotton, etc., and similar type product in the past, but it didn't seem to catch on, particularly when the industry shifted out of Hong Kong into mainland China.
How would you describe the test and learn type culture in the Hong Kong Exchange corporate community, the desire to test and learn, and at the same time not lose the core franchise?
Well, we do a fair bit of research, because before we actually launch a product, we actually talk a lot to the market, to the participants, to see what the appetite might be.
And yet you still make mistakes. So what have you been learning about when do you make mistakes?
I think the main thing for us is that if we do come across a product that proves not to be popular, before we actually launch it, the incremental cost to the exchange, generally speaking, tends to be minimal. So, as they say, no venture, no gain. But I think in terms of, say, for instance, some of our other derivative products, ETFs and callable bull-bear certificates, etc., and all that have been reasonably successful.
Has that been driven more by the fact that Hong Kong has a domestic, punter type market, or how much of that has been contributed to by the institutional investors?
Our domestic retail customers only accounts for about 30%, of our turnover. So, we are not, as it were, driven, but to some extent we are unusual from other exchanges around the world, which tends to be far more institutionally based. But of course, as you appreciate, in mainland China, it's largely individual driven as well, so about 80%, I would think. So I think from that point of view, we have both local and international institutions, probably international institutions about 40+%. With about 20% local and 30% retail, and then the rest is made up of either regional funds or family offices and the like.
In recent times, you've been very vocal in terms of your appreciation of the fact that China might be liberalizing its currency, and at the same time, you don't think that it's going to happen very quickly. What about China's liberalization process do you worry about most for the Hong Kong Exchange?
I think as far as the Hong Kong Exchange is concerned, having dealt with mainland China, literally almost for the past 20 years, since 1993, we learn one very simple fact, and that is in terms of timing. We need to get prepared probably ahead of time, and prepare for the best, so to speak. But the timing obviously is decided by the CSRC itself or by the central authorities, like exchanges around the world, we're there to serve. But we like to get ready, when they're ready to launch.
Right. And what do you spend your time getting ready for today?
I think right now, over the years, we've had, a constant dialogue and very close working relationship with Shanghai Stock Exchange, with Shenzhen Stock Exchange, with the CSRC itself, with the central bank, the Banking Regulatory Commission. So we keep very close dialogue and cooperation with the regulatory agencies plus the exchanges.
Do you see it making sense for Hong Kong Exchange to own exchanges in China?
It's probably too early to tell. As you know, over the past 5 years, there have been, a number of mergers worldwide, or there have been a number of, minority or token participation by one exchange on another. So far, the jury is still out. The one that seemed to get the most success and traction is Chicago Mercantile Exchange Group, CME Group. They seem to, have a marriage made in heaven. But I guess where you have two exchanges in the same city, different product line, you get instant synergy. It's not very often you get that.
And in a sense, would you argue that Hong Kong being part of China, there are potential synergies with markets in China in that regard?
Obviously there is, because, there are a number of companies that are listed on the Shanghai Exchange and on the Hong Kong Exchange and Shenzhen Exchange. So, when the liberalization of capital accounts control turns the renminbi into full convertibility and the market's completely open, then there will be a lot of synergy.
What percentage of your market now is renminbi based?
We actually don't have any renminbi prices on the exchange, but what we do have is a number of mainland companies, about 500 or thereabouts, and they are about 60% of our market cap, and probably about 70% of our daily turnover on the cash equity side.
Given the fact that the Chinese government has been giving renminbi access to Hong Kong-based banks, and there would be greater convertibility with Hong Kong in that sense, do you see a need to have renminbi-based securities traded on in Hong Kong?
I think it will be a role that we would dearly love to, play,
okay,
or to have part of, because of the, desire and the policy to internationalize the renminbi. So we think that, Hong Kong would be a very suitable, because it's not just the exchange itself, but, our entire monetary system, regulatory system would be able to actually, give a very, very strong, supporting role
right,
in that direction.
Right. Are you a fan of the potential for the liberalization of the renminbi?
I think so. I think so because, I think as countries develop, inevitably, they deal with the outside world. And when you deal with the outside world, you need to, open up your markets.
Yeah.